Pentecost is an Episcopal Church in the heart of Queens Village, with a vibrant community dedicated to putting God's words into action. Our church community is a family that comes together every Sunday for worship and fellowship, which is why I am so happy that you could join us. Blessed be God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
And blessed be his kingdom, now and forever. Amen.
Almighty God, to you all hearts are open, all desires known, and from you no secrets are hid. Come thoughts of our hearts by the inspiration of your Holy Spirit, that we may perfectly love you and worthily magnify your holy name through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
Glory to God in the highest.
And peace to his people on earth. Lord God, heavenly King, almighty God and Father, we worship you, we give you thanks, we praise you for your glory. Lord Jesus Christ, only Son of God, Lord God, Lamb of God, you take away the sins of the world. Have mercy on us. You are seated at the right hand of the Father. Receive our prayer. For you alone are the Holy One. You alone are the Lord. You alone are the Most High, Jesus Christ, with the Holy Spirit, in the glory of God the Father. Amen.
The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray. O God, mercifully receive the prayers of your people who call upon you, and grant that they may know and understand what things they ought to do, and also may have...
We praise thee, O God, for the Spirit of God, who has shown us our Savior and scattered our minds. Hallelujah, and glory. Hallelujah, amen. Hallelujah, and glory. Revive us again. Oh, glory and praise to the Lamb that was slain, who was born over our sins and has cleansed every stain. Hallelujah, and glory. Hallelujah, amen. Hallelujah, and glory. Revive us again.
The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
The Holy Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ according to Mark.
Glory to you, Lord Christ.
King Herod heard of Jesus and his disciples, for Jesus' name had become known. Some were saying, John the Baptizer has been raised from the dead, and for this reason these powers are at work in him. But others said, it is Elijah. And others said, it is a prophet like one of the prophets of old. But when Herod heard of it, he said, John, whom I beheaded, has been risen. Herod himself had sent men who arrested John, bound him, and put him in prison on the accounts of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, because Herod had married her. For John had been telling Herod, it is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife. And Herodias had a grudge against him and wanted to kill him, but she could not, for Herod feared John, knowing that he was a righteous and holy man, and he protected him. When he heard him, he was greatly perplexed, and yet he liked to listen to him. But an opportunity came when Herod, on his birthday, gave a banquet for his counselors and officers and for the leaders of Galilee. When his daughter Herodias came in and danced, she pleased Herod and his guests. And the king said to the girl, "Ask me for whatever you wish, and I will give it." And he solemnly swore to her, "Whatever you ask me, I will give you, even half of the kingdom." She went out and said to her mother, "What should I ask for?" She replied, "The head of John the Baptizer." Immediately she rushed back to the king and requested, "I want you to give me at once the head of John the Baptizer on a platter." The king was deeply grieved. Yet, out of regard for his oath and for the guests, he did not want to refuse her. Immediately, the king sent a soldier of the guard with orders to bring John's head. He went and beheaded him in the prison, brought his head on a platter, and gave it to the girl. The girl gave it to her mother. When his disciples heard about it, they came and took his body and laid it in a tomb. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
But such is life. My mother was yelling at me because I don't slow down, she said, but I just tripped, that's all. So, how is everyone this morning?
Blessed and highly favored by the Lord.
I am too. So, this morning, I was thinking about the text of the gospel, and about this story of Herod and John the Baptizer and Herod's wife Herodias. And the thing about it is, I was thinking about this thought process, this statement, this phrase that we learn when we're young, and lo and behold, when I open up the day by day, there the same phrase starts. What a web we weave when once we practice to deceive. All right, and I thought about that in the reading, and then I didn't realize that someone else was thinking about it. As John the Baptizer is dead, and as Jesus is really, his ministry is taking off, Herod is kind of nervous. He's kind of wondering, because he killed John the Baptizer, not because he hated him, but because of his ego and his pride. And because of his ego and pride, he killed someone he knew was a righteous and holy man. Because of his pride, he did what was wrong so that he can save face. You know that phrase, saving face? How many of us have tried to save face, and at the end of the day, it has cost us more than if we had just done what we were supposed to do the first time around? Yesterday, I sprained my ankle on Wednesday, and I didn't know. And I was walking all over Manhattan, came back, did the funeral, helped to do some other things. And so by Thursday, my foot was swollen. And so I went to the ER, and in the ER, they showed me how to use my crutches, and I was learning how to use those things. And then someone asked me, "You sure you don't want to use a cane?" And I said, "No, I'll work with the crutches." And then it came to outside. Right? And I was just like, am I using these crutches outside? Am I using this cane outside? I'm not sure about this yet. And so, luckily, I didn't have to do anything for the next 2 days. I just put my foot up. And then yesterday, I went to do the interment for the funeral, and I did not have my bandage on. I did not have my brace on. You know why I didn't have these things on? Because it didn't match my outfit. Right? Our pride and our ego will do things to us if we are not careful. And here it is that Herod has been listening to John, and I think that Herod knew that John was right, that he shouldn't be married to his brother's wife. But he didn't want to change these things because what? He's the king. And who is the John to tell a king what to do? Does it sound familiar, King David? And all these terrible things that happened to King David's family just because of his pride and his wants and his desires. And so Herod is here repeating the same thing. And instead of listening to the prophet, he puts the prophet in jail because his wife, who was probably nagging him, said, "You got to kill him." But Herod said, "I'm not killing a man of God." And so he puts him in jail, and he has the opportunity to continue to listen to John's wisdom and be perplexed. Has anybody given you an advice? You know the advice is the right advice, but it makes you pause and think because you don't necessarily want to do it. Because you know that means changing the way you live your life. And so you just sit there perplexed and pondering and saying, how do I get around this? How do I get over this? So the consequences of me yesterday walking without crutches, without bandage wrap or the brace there, is that my foot got swollen by the end of the day. Right? And so once again, I ended up with foot up and sitting in my house by myself, and my friends were calling me saying, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I can't go anywhere. I'm on bed rest right now." Because I didn't listen. And the funny thing is, I keep having the same foot be injured and be injured over and over again in the same way. And it's like, maybe God is truly trying to tell me, listen up. Right? Focus. It's not about me and my pride. It's not about us and our ego when God is trying to lead us in the right direction. But because Herod's ego was so big, and because he felt that he's the king, he should be able to do whatever he wants, he gets drunk at his party, right? Because only a drunk person would make promises like that, right? Only a drunk person would say, "Hey, you dance so well, let me give you half my kingdom. Ask me whatever," right? Because anybody in their right mind wouldn't be offering such things. "Oh, you did a nice dance. Let me give you a couple of dollars." Right? But Herod is drunk. He's in his glory. He's celebrating another year of life. And who doesn't want to celebrate another year of life? Because life is not promised to us. And to make it for another year is a good thing to celebrate and to give thanks to God about having this next life. And so he's there, and he's in the midst of his friends, and he's partying. But I don't know if he's in the midst of his friends, because Herod was feared. So he's just in the midst of people who fear him. And he's there, and so the daughter dances, and Herodias takes opportunity. Right? See, you got to know when opportunity knocks that you're supposed to take it, but you got to know which opportunity to take. Right? There's good opportunity, and there's bad opportunities. And Herodias takes opportunity over the king's disadvantage of being drunk or being impaired or just being among people. And so she knows that he has made this promise in front of everybody, and it will look bad if the king goes back on his promise. So she's going to take advantage of this situation. Have you guys ever done this? Maybe not ask for somebody's head on a platter, but have you ever taken advantage of a situation in a negative way because you know it's going to benefit you? See? To say that little loud, little low. We know what Mother Ellis is talking about. Right? We take advantage of situations because it benefits us. And last week, remember I said that being selfish impacts not only the people around you, but it impacts you, the individual. And Herodias was being selfish because she too knew that she shouldn't be married to her husband's brother. But once again, opportunity had knocked. And the king took interest in her. And so she did what she had to do so that she could be queen. Right? And who doesn't want to be queen? And get all the benefits of being queen, being waited on, all the people serving you, money at their disposal, whatever you want, you can have. So who doesn't want to take opportunities like these? But beware of where these opportunities lead you. Because your selfishness only leads you down the path of destruction. And here she is taking this opportunity once again to do what is evil instead of what is right. And so when Herod offers the girl anything, she goes and asks her mother, can I have half of the kingdom? Shouldn't I have half of the kingdom? I mean, I would have asked for half of the kingdom. Because at least half of the kingdom would have given me opportunity to go somewhere else. But she says, ask him for the head of John the Baptist. What a gruesome act. The beheading of somebody. You know how sharp your blade has to be to behead somebody? And if it's not sharp, that's going to be one painful chopping after the other. So the other day, or a few years ago, I got a butcher's knife. And I was just like, well, I have my butcher's knife, so now I can chop bone, right? Because that's what I thought. And here I was chopping away at a chicken bone, and I didn't realize how tough chicken bone was before you cook it. And I was just like, wow, even if you don't chop this the right way, if you don't have the right tools, the bone is splintering. It's not healthy. Well, it's not healthy, but you're gonna eat it anyway, right? Because you have splintered bones. You want something smooth. And so John the Baptist's head on a platter, and there's the images that people have made over the years. If you ever Google John the Baptist being beheaded, there's some gruesome images that this young girl is carrying a head of a man. She probably had nothing to do with her to her mother. What traumatizing thing has the mother done to the child? In so many ways. And Herod, being Herod, I'm not going back on my decision to support this girl or to give this girl whatever I ask, even though it grieves me. Even though I know it's a righteous man, a holy man, a man of God, I would rather my pride be intact than to do what is right. How many of us get stuck there? How many of us have allowed our egos, our pride, to get in the way of what is right? It doesn't have to be a head on the platter. It could be as small as not wanting to walk with a cane or walk with crutches or do what is right and manage my diabetes or lose the weight the doctor is asking or change my lifestyle so my life can be healthy and live a little bit longer. I tell on myself, but I also tell on my mother because my mother is always funny to tell on, and she's not here, and she's not going to see it on the internet. Right? But when she was diagnosed, when the doctor said to her that it was time for her, because her kidneys were going, it was time for her to put the fistula in, and she was just like, I don't want to do it. And he's like, no, we just want to have it in time. Not saying that you're going on dialysis right now. So she put it in, and then she decided, I think somewhere along the line, the doctor did tell her she needed dialysis, but she never told my father and I. Why? Because her pride. She didn't want to go on dialysis, y'all. all the other stuff that came into it. So she got sick, right? She got sick, and she was in the emergency room, and the emergency doctors are trying to figure out what's wrong with her, and up comes the kidney doctor. The kidney doctor says, you have two choices. Either you go on dialysis because there's nothing we can do here in the ER for you, or you die a slow and painful death. Which one is it? Right? And I said, well, Mommy, how long ago did the doctor tell you were supposed to be on dialysis? She said, about 2 months ago. And I said, well, what stopped you? Why? Oh, I don't want people to think that I'm on dialysis. I said, who cares? Right? But then I'm no better, right? Because where's my crutches and where's my cane? Right? Subtle things. We might think, well, we're not like Herod. But it's the little things that we do that go against God to save face, that build and build and build and build and build until you're wondering, why am I in this position? And when you peel back the layers of the position that you're in, you realize, when I had the option to do the right thing, I chose my own selfish reasons over doing what is right. But God says, do what is right. Because here it is, Herod is being haunted by a dead man. Let's be real, let's push it a little further. Herod is being haunted by the notion, the thought that he knows he did something wrong. And people are talking about Jesus. And they're talking about his ministry. And they're talking, maybe it is John the Baptist. And the reason why Herod is scared is because he's wondering, did John the Baptist come back to take it out on me? Because I killed him even though I knew I wasn't supposed to do this thing? Even though I knew that I should have done the right thing, but to save my ego and to make sure that people don't think I'm weak, that I killed this man innocently? What would people have thought? Or what would you have thought of Herod if he said, no, my daughter, you can have anything else besides this? Because we're not in the business of killing the prophet of God. Would we thought he was weak? Or would we thought he was strong? This is Israel after all. Israel who's been following prophets for generations. Israel who have been listening to the prophets lead them for generations in the right way, but also, just as they've been led by prophets, they've ignored prophets, and know that every time they've ignored prophets, they've ended up on the wrong side. And here was an opportunity to say, I'm going to keep John the Baptist alive. I'd rather give you half of my kingdom. Take half of my kingdom and go. And do what it please. Because I don't care what people say about me giving half of my kingdom away. But I care about what God's going to say to me when I get to the pearly gates about killing John the Baptist. What is God going to say about the things that we have done for selfish reasons? And how do we begin to rectify that? How do we begin to work that out and work backwards and seek forgiveness from God? That's why Jesus was walking this earth. Part of it so that we know that we can go to God seeking forgiveness because we have already been forgiven in Jesus Christ, who died for us on the cross. And that our egos don't have to dictate our lives. Our pride does not have to dictate our lives. Our selfishness does not have to order our footsteps, but we can lean on God for understanding. We can trust in God to show us the way. And we truly will find our way and be blessed by God. But the choice is ours. There's always a choice out there to do right. There's always an opportunity to do right. And so there's always an opportunity and a choice to do wrong. But the good news is that Jesus Christ allows us to seek forgiveness. Right? So the choice is ours. What decisions do you need to make this morning so that you will not end up in Herod's position, regretting, living in regret? Because it's the worst thing to do is to live in regret, right? Like we could have, we should have. My favorite, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Right? But it doesn't change what it is now. What are you going to do right now in this moment, going forward, knowing what you could have, should have done in the past, what you can do in this present moment, moving forward, making those right choices, changing your ways so that regret doesn't eat at you and gnaw at you until there's nothing left of you. And you're haunted by a ghost, like Harry. These choices are ours to make and ours alone. We can give all the advice. John the Baptist gave Herod all the advice, but the decision still was his. And the same goes for us today. God gives us advice through the words of people, through scripture, through things that we see, through our life experiences, and we choose to accept that advice or we choose to ignore it. But once we make the decisions, we cannot choose the consequences. And if you want the consequences to be positive and outlooking, I implore you to trust in God and make the right decision and let go of self and let God take control. Amen.
Amen.
learned and use it to our service and to the service of you out in the world, proclaiming boldly the good news of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Go in peace to love and serve the Lord.
Thanks be to God.